just in time. Just in time.
Yeah, just in time.
Just in time. Just in time.
I also like that we start all of these podcasts with a click track, just so that we make sure.
Right.
You know, we don't do the whole podcast to a click, but we start it with the click, so that we're at the right tempo.
Right.
We at least know we're starting at the right speed.
So I guess that speed is 120 BPM.
Yeah, we usually podcast at about 120 BPM. Sometimes it drifts up to like 122. Some of the slower parts it lags. But it's ballpark 120.
Oh, thank you for lightening my heart. It's been quite the day, you guys. I realized a huge mistake I had made in the planning for our New Zealand trip. So
which obviously is a big trip.
It's a big trip, and we're leaving on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And on Friday, I was going through and checking the reservations for the first few things we're doing, like the hotel we're staying at when we arrive, and the car rental. I was going to go print out the voucher. And I realized that due to the time difference, what looks like a Wednesday arrival on my Google Calendar is actually a Thursday arrival at the Auckland airport because they're 20 hours ahead.
Right.
And I flipped out because I have this car rented for an entire month.
Yeah, which is a big...
Yeah.
You don't normally rent a car for a month.
Yeah. And I got a great deal on it.
Yeah.
Really smoking deal on this because I rented through rentalcars.com, not directly with the rental car company. I usually try to book direct with whatever company, the hotel or the car rental.
Yeah,
you should because those companies just...
They can take care of you. On the other hand...
I could not get the rentalcars.com to change the reservation, and there are no cars available for a month. There are no cars available in New Zealand.
That makes...
For a month.
Well, but that makes sense because
Basically.
they probably don't have access to.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, what about the car
system.
I currently have rented?
Yeah.
That one's available. I know it's available because I have it reserved.
Rented, yeah.
But they couldn't make the change, and I called the Auckland Airport Hertz counter. I counted on Google Voice. I called 16 times over the last 3 days. Never got an answer. Left a voicemail. Never got a call back, and finally. I was freaking out today, man.
It was a tense afternoon. We had a lovely time together.
You took good care of me.
We went shopping and
we do need a car. I mean, the itinerary I have planned has me driving pretty much the entire.
And it's a very spread out country. Yeah. I mean, it would be like trying to tour the Midwest. I mean, not tour like music, but like as a tourist in the Midwest, like you're going to need a car.
And so the only option seemed to be to cancel the reservation I have and get a new car. But there are 5. There are 5 cars available in New Zealand for a month rental right now. They start at $5,000. That's not true. One of them is $2,900. So what I did was I made a new reservation for a $2,900 SUV. Hoping I could cancel the original. Oh, it all worked out. I was on hold with rentalcars.com, having them cancel my original reservation in favor of my new $3,000 SUV reservation when I thought, let me just call the Auckland Airport Hertz counter one more time.
Right.
Just one more time while I'm on hold. And someone answered. And she said, oh, you're coming in Thursday instead of Wednesday? Okay, no problem. I'll put a note on your account. And I was like, that's it?
How often is that? Yeah.
That's that. I didn't believe her. I was like, yeah? I was speechless.
All the stress is in just getting to talk to the right person.
But I couldn't get through them because, on Friday when I realized my mistake, it's Saturday in New Zealand, which you'd think there would be people at the Hertz counter at the Auckland airport on a weekend, but it is also a holiday weekend. And I made sure to call during business hours. I mean, I was calling during business hours, but no one answered all those times. It's a public holiday on Monday in New Zealand, so I was like, maybe that's it. Maybe it's the floods they're having. Like the airport is still all messed up.
They have had huge floods, so I'm sure there's staffing issues.
Yeah, for sure. And
perfect storm.
And it's like, here I am being like, tourist, help me. Oh. But then...
You worked so hard on it. And then it worked out.
My whole day.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, God.
Well, that's why... Yeah.
I'm just glad we didn't get there and then find out that, you guys didn't show up for your reservation. We rented that car.
Yeah, we canceled it because...
And there are no cars. There are no cars.
Which I have had happen before. Like, I've literally been delayed enough by like, your flight gets in 4-6 hours after it's supposed to because your connection, and then and they're like, oh yeah, we gave away your car.
Yeah.
They never say it that way, but they're like, your reservation was canceled and there aren't any cars available. And you're like, well...
Back in like 2018, I bought this business book called Clockwork, which is this book where you're supposed to, figure out it's supposed to help you figure out how to run your business like clockwork so that you can step away from it, so that you learn how to work on your business rather than always in your business. And I started following its precepts, and I, got a team in place, and I was on the way. And as part of your commitment to like making your business run like clockwork, you're supposed to send an email to the author saying you're going to take some big trip on some date. He like wants you to commit to some big thing. Back then I said, I'm going to take a trip to Thailand. I can't remember, but someplace very far away in March of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Luckily, nothing happened in 2020
I
that would have derailed that.
Nothing happened in March 2020. So yeah, this is basically that trip. This is the
amazing.
Trip. It's finally happening, and I'm stepping away from Performance High, and it has grown a lot. It grew a lot in 2018 and 2019. It contracted in 2020.
Sure.
It held steady in 2021, like at that low level, and then it's growing like crazy in 2023. I have an amazing team in place, and I have no compunctions about stepping away. And I'm not going to be on another planet. I mean, we're going to get SIM cards for our phones. We can be,
you can have email.
There's email and internet, and we can probably even talk on the phone. I also feel like I could literally step away for a month, and the company would be fine. I trust everybody.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing
it is
thing
amazing.
you've built. And I'm stepping away for 2 weeks, and then I'll be back for 2 weeks on my own. And hit me up. Let's party.
You're going to be working so hard.
Yeah, I am. There's so much stuff going on. Yeah, that's so impressive that you've built, that's something that you set out to do along. And I remember you telling me about that book even back then.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no, I completely took, I got reminded while you were talking about it. It's all about developing those. We've talked about it in other podcasts, how you've developed those systems and not just the systems, but the people in place and grown into those roles and maybe moved into roles they were better suited for or would just rather do certain things. But, the team is so strong and that's... And
the amount of trust. If I were not reachable and someone had to make a financial decision on my behalf, like to spend money or to make some choice that was going to affect the business's finances, I have no doubt that whatever choice the team made would be perfectly fine with me.
That's pretty That's so great.
So this is our last live podcast recording. Psst, don't scratch my amp. Our last live podcast recording for about a month. We have 4 of them queued up, and we're probably going to record another backup after we finish this one.
Yeah, so you guys are going to get some... it occurred to me that I've said evergreen several times.
And they're not evergreen.
They're not evergreen. But the idea, because people may not know, of an evergreen episode goes back to like TV and radio, where you've got, say, a Johnny Carson show or something where part of that show is topical to the date and what's going on. And an evergreen is going to stay fresh all year round. So it's something that's got a wide enough topic that it doesn't have to be, for example, what gigs we did that week or whatever. It can be a bigger topic that's going to stay fresh no matter when we do it. Yeah.
Here she is. Cutie pie. We have episodes recorded about the Legend Makers band, the live karaoke band we were in, the Urban Dance Theory band that we were in, where we met, Adrienne O band, which is my band that you were in from the beginning, and
my early career.
Your early career, yeah.
Bands I was in before 22 or whatever. Yeah. We're good. They're going to keep coming out. So we actually had a busy music week.
We had 3 gigs in 3 days. So we had Cody Qualls at the Boulder Dinner Theater, Cody Qualls and the brand new Ancients at the Boulder Dinner Theater.
Right.
And the very next night we had the Petty Nicks Experience at the Boulder Dinner Theater. And then the next night we had the Petty Nicks Experience at the Rialto Theater.
It really was some of my favorite venues to play. Cody fits so great at Boulder Dinner Theater. You know, shout out to Wayne and Seamus and everybody. I know we've talked about them before, but we just love those guys, and the culture there is so great, and it's sad that place is going away.
I know, it's their last season.
Soonish, last season. Anyway, Cody's stuff works so well there because it's, you know, and Cody's such a warm performer and such a great talker, and he brings the room together. And as much as I love the venue, I felt like it was a little harder for Patty Nix.
Yeah.
And I guess we sold out for whatever that was, 300 or whatever it is. Some of it, I was thinking, was just the fact that, like, so many of the things that we've worked out performance-wise. So I've got 3 sides where I don't have to perform to.
Oh,
So if I need to disappear for a second or bail out of something.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've only got the one direction the audience is sitting.
Right.
Whereas at the Boulder, because of that U around the stage, there were people really, like, just as far back as I could get on the stage. There were people, like, right next to me. And especially because they sold that room really full. Yeah, it was an interesting performance thing. You kind of felt like it
was harder to disappear.
It was harder to disappear. Yeah. And that's, you know, at least for me, for every performer, there's parts where you need to, like, just sort of disappear and get out of the way. Yeah.
That's something worth noting, because a lot of times in lessons, people ask me what they should do when they're not singing.
Right.
Like when the solo happens or whatever. And I usually give them advice like, you don't do anything. It's not about you at that point.
Right.
You might, you know, you want to direct the attention to the thing that's happening, because that's what your job is to make sure that the audience is watching and hearing the most important thing that's going on. But one thing that I noticed about you, like the first time I saw you perform, not with the band that we were in together, but like I went and saw you perform with somebody.
Yeah.
The way you bailed off stage and then you like walked to the back and you like looked down at your amp or something, I found it hard to even keep my eyes on you. Like, I was interested in what you were doing and I was trying to watch you and I almost couldn't. You literally disappeared into the background.
You have no idea how much of a huge compliment that is. Learning to do exactly that. Just learning to, like, you can't look at me if you want to. And
that's the hardest thing. I'm still fighting it myself when it's not my turn to sing or be a feature. I feel like while I'm on stage, people are seeing me, I still need to look like I'm having fun. Right. Like, I need to feel the groove a little bit and, like, keep a nice smile on my face or whatever. And I need to learn to disappear even a little more. Like, just turn around.
It's hard.
Take a glass of water, fiddle with my whatever, you know.
And there's, you know, I mean, sure, there are spots where you do keep dancing and you look at, you know, like the whole, we do a very performative thing sometimes with Patty Nix when Ari, the lead keyboard player, takes solos where we're all, you know,
we're showing appreciation.
Dancing
we're like,
around.
Man,
and
you know, cheering them on.
Yeah. And that works sometimes. But the other thing you can do when you're not singing or not playing anything important is just disappear.
Yeah.
Just, you know. And some of that is part of what helps with that is developing a sense of when the lights are on you and where they're not, and where you can step sort of out of the light.
Yeah.
You're not totally in the dark, but you're not in those spotlights.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I try to always be aware of, is where I am in the lights. You know, am I in the light or am I not in the light?
I pay attention to that when I do the acoustic version of American Girl for the encore. There's usually a spotlight or there's some limited amount of light on stage. And as I move, and I'm not wandering, but I'll do the first verse in one place and the second verse in another place. Right. I'm kind of paying attention, like, is the spotlight moving with me, or do I need to stop before I get to the edge of that circle?
Yeah, because it very much matters.
It does.
It looks very different from the audience.
And it's the weird thing, because when you're singing and you're in the spotlight, you can't see anybody. And when you get out of the spotlight, you can see the audience. So for you, the performer, it feels more connected being out of the light.
Yeah, it is counterintuitive. Yeah,
it's very counterintuitive.
Boulder Dinner Theater, we love you. Please have us back. Moving on to the Rialto. The Rialto is sort of like, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, it's a lot like Poway in California. Bigger, 500-ish seats, and, you know, they got monitors backstage where you can see what's on stage. So I guess when they're doing productions, they can, you know when to walk on because you can see on a TV screen what's happening on stage. And when we broke for the American Girl thing, where usually for an encore, you just go out with Ari and sing part of the song and the rest of the band comes out. And we were watching you on the monitor and just having a ton of fun goofing around.
I heard there was some video made.
Yeah, there's
some parody video or something.
Brian started filming you on the screen on the stage at the Rialto from backstage while we're waiting to come back out for the encore thing. And then Ryan surprisingly started acting goofy, started messing around. And then, we were just,
I need to see that video. I haven't seen it yet.
Fun. The Rialto, though, what a great show.
Yeah.
What a really great show.
Yeah, the audience was hot again. We were sold out for months. We sold out in the fall. I mean, it was listed in September, and I think we were sold out in November.
Yeah, and the staff, again, Phil, the sound guy there, is so pro. Just a great sound guy, and works in that room all the time, so he really knows it. And Dan, the lighting guy, was, like, on it. The lights were so...
Yeah.
And he told me, actually, Phil told me how much they were looking forward to having us back at the Rialto, which was really touching.
That's so nice.
And then apparently Dan, the lighting guy, brought in a bunch of extra lighting.
No.
Because he wanted the show to be extra good. So he brought in a bunch of those cross trees that were like shooting across. Those are not normally there. Dan brought those in. Yeah, I know. I was like,
Dang.
And thanks to Garrett, who was a monitor guy. Yeah, Phil even he was showing me on the board. He did this thing that it's something that you would do more on recordings, but he was using it. And I walked out during part of sound check, and I heard him doing it, and we were talking about, we were sound nerding a little bit, and what he was doing was he had all the drum tracks, some mics on each part of the drum kit and overheads and stuff, and he had all that mixed out into the room through the PA system. As a separate thing, he grouped together the shell parts of the kits, meaning the kick, the snare, and the toms, put that all on a group, right? Like duplicated those tracks over to another fader on the board, and then super compressed those. So they were just like exploding sounding. And I don't know how much we've talked about compression, but basically you're smashing down the initial attack of something and you're turning up the sustain. So all the ring of everything. And you just get this crunchy, distorted thing. And then as parts of songs would get more intense, he would push that distorted...
No way.
Gooey, drummy thing, and he would push that up a little bit in more intense part of the song to just make the drums not be kind of the static. And Elwood is such a gifted dynamic player, like literally a gifted dynamic player. Like he's so great at getting quiet, getting louder. But on top of that, Phil was like pushing up into the room this like crunchy, distorted.
That's so cool.
It was so cool. I heard it. When I was walked out, that's why I started talking to him about it. So I was like, wait, what are you doing there? And when Ryan would go into like a longer fill, he would like push up those shell elements that was just a level of detail that sound guys don't often get to do, but Phil works there all the time, and so he's able to. And you know, it was interesting too because Petty Nicks at least has converted 100% to, at least guitar wise, no amps on stage. So we have 3 guitar players.
Oh yeah.
But we have no normal guitar amps on stage. We're all using direct amp modelers. And he was talking about one of the reasons he could use that drum technique is that he didn't have the stage volume of guitar amps sitting up there, so he could control all the elements, because usually the guitar amps on stage, they're putting so much sound out into the room, you're sort of just trying to place things in and around how loud the guitar amp already is. But he was like, man, because you guys are all direct and you all have really well-developed sounds and there's not much stage volume coming back out into the room, I can do these extra things.
Super cool. Well, one thing I wanted to mention was how a song can function and land really differently depending on where it is in the set.
Bottom line, we just had that experience all weekend.
Yeah, we tried moving some stuff around for the Boulder Dinner Theater set. I mean, we kept the same general structure that we always have because there's so much that works about it, but we're always tweaking and looking to see if there's something that can be a little different without detracting from the feel of the show, or something that could add to the show. One of the things we did was try taking, American Girl right now, the last few shows has been the encore, and we do it as an acoustic and then live version. So I sing most of the song with just piano. And then while I'm holding the last note, the whole band comes out behind me and hits boom, boom, boom. And it's all like, yay.
Yeah.
So we moved that song as is to the beginning of the second set, which seemed like it could have worked. And you were saying it could have if we had spoken, if we talked differently after it was over.
So it was an encore-sized song where it's just like this huge, impactful, and you come out and you sing, and then the band comes in, and there's a long guitar solo, and then we do this really extended...
And it just has this really uplifting, open feeling. It's just this big, like, yes, life kind of feeling.
And if somebody would have jumped in and been like, yeah, second set, here we go, blah, 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 you know, someone would have been real rah, rah, rah. But we started with that huge moment.
Neither Julian nor I said anything after that.
Nobody said anything, and we kind of had to reset while we kind of like, whew, that was a big one. And then we went into like some lower energy song like The Waiting, and it was that classic thing that you worry about with sets where you come in with too much energy and you don't have anywhere to go. I think just even talking, some real rah-rah talking would have smoothed that over a bit. We'll probably never try it again, so we'll never know. But
I mean, it's just the best encore. It's just the best
encore. It just works so well. Not to call out Elwood again, but he was the one who was really saying, you know, it's such a good opener. And it is, because it's fun and it's good and you get it, but it's very easy to go up from there.
Mm-hmm. It's an art and a science. I mean, I guess it's an art. There's no science involved in set list creation. I mean, there are formulas to follow and to break. We've seen bands, even like famous touring bands, open with their biggest hit.
Phoenix did.
Yeah. And they got away with it.
Yeah.
But we've also seen bands open with the biggest hit, maybe a cover band opening with the biggest thing they're covering that night.
Right.
First of all, it doesn't hit that big.
Because it's an opening.
Yeah.
You know?
And second, well, you just blew your biggest ammo.
Yeah. People are kind of getting used to what's going on, and if you hit them too hard, they just can't.
They're not into it yet.
They're not into it yet.
Yeah.
You know, and I was saying to somebody, a client of mine, we were talking about exactly that, where it is an art, not a science. No matter how good you get at it, you're going to be wrong about your guesses about how things will play or how the energy will flow. And in some ways, you have to be very open to taking some lumps. And I was saying to this particular client, Patty Nix at least wants to figure out some different set stuff. And we know we're going to have to take some lumps on the way to figuring that out. Because even with all the experience and the combined experience of all the guys in the bands who have all been playing forever, you're going to think something for sure will work, and it just doesn't. Mm-hmm. And you just have to go, well, for tonight, we're taking our lumps on that one to figure out that that's not where that song goes. Mm-hmm. And it's not the end of the world that things were. You're never going to figure out all the great things that are an 11 on a scale of 10 unless you're willing to take those lumps.
Yeah.
Back to
and
the
tricky
board.
thing is it could be where you put the song in the set. It could be what song was before it.
Right.
It could be how you introduced the song. It could be what you did or didn't say after the song.
It could be the audience. It could be, you know, you just never really...
it is tricky.
Yeah, it was it was a really great weekend. And
wanted to give a special shout out to Mark and Susanne.
Oh, Mark and Susanne.
Who, I don't know if they watch this podcast. They probably don't. But they came to 3 Petty Nix shows in 8 days.
They saw us at the Oriental. Yeah. They came to see us at the Boulder Dinner Theater. And then they drove up to Loveland and saw us at the Rialto.
Amazing.
Yeah, all in 1 week. Mark and Susanne, thank you. Joanne, want to thank Joanne again for all the pictures and videos she took at the Oriental.
Great photos.
Yeah, I know we said thanks, but just want to say thanks again. And everybody else who comes to those shows. Was it you or Julian? Somebody asked how many people had seen us before.
Yeah.
And it was a good cheer, and then how many people hadn't seen us before, and it was like...
That was encouraging to me.
Maybe two-thirds of that room had not seen us.
At both shows, I think that was true.
I think so.
Let's see, did I ask at Boulder Dinner Theater?
No, because the announcer who brought us on stage... At Boulder Dinner Theater, they do like 5 minutes of announcements.
Yeah.
And he asked who...
Oh, he did? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked at the Oriental, and then I asked at the Rialto of like, you know, who's seen us before, woo, and who is here for the first time, woo. And in both cases, it was twice as big, the people who hadn't yet seen us, which is a great sign. That means we're growing. I guess it could mean that people aren't coming back to see us.
Yeah.
No.
If you do watch this podcast and you ever come see us play, please come say hi. We try to come out afterwards, and also we're hanging out. Please say hi. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I can't usually say hi beforehand because I'm getting ready, and then once I'm ready,
you're warming up.
I can't come out in my costume.
No, you can't come out in the costume, but we usually come out afterwards.
All right, so let's wrap this one. Thanks for listening, everybody.
As always, thank you guys for listening. We would like to thank...
I would like to have the sponsor this week be Sloan's Restaurant.
Sloan's Restaurant, absolutely.
And New Image Brewing on 44th. In Wheat Ridge.
Yeah, one of our local breweries around the corner.
That's where we went to decompress tonight after I got the whole rental car thing figured out. We went and had a beer at New Image.
Yeah.
They have a big menu, a big beer menu.
It's great. And the music, it's just piped in music, but it's so cool. I wind up Shazamming like 10 things every time we go in there. Yeah. And then we went to Sloan's, which was our old neighborhood we could walk to at the old apartment. We could walk to Sloan's.
It's like our Cheers. Not that anybody actually knows our name, but it feels like home.
When you want something familiar and
it's
comforting.
Safe and comfortable.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.